All right, what we're going to do to get today going is we're not going to talk about none of that. But what we will do is we're going to read some out of The Fall of the Spirits of Darkness, the spiritual background to the outer world. Okay? Oh, and everything that they do is either Latin and German, how they speak to each other. All right, and this is this is a little about the Ahrimanic spirits and like heaven and like the spirit world. Yeah, to the average person, they can't. Look, they'll run from this because remember, they've had the Sesame Street and the Disney Build Your Alphabet videos. A, B, C, D, look at me, I'm in sorcery, yeah, now I'm adult, don't listen to Matt, I've got Disney sorcery brain. And it was in church, so I'm a child, and I see it in there, so my cognition is built around experience and knowledge of theirs, so Matt, everything you say is stupid. Well then go on. Stop watching this stuff. Okay. This comes out of a lecture on October the 14th, 1917. And this is about materialism. Now, I might stop and say a few things, and that's just the nature in me. And we'll just start in this paragraph. It says, the deeper sources of such events, and today we are very much involved in their after effects, which will continue to have an influence for a long time to come, must be sought in the world of the spirit, which is it's all through Scripture. And if we investigate the processes in that world which have come to outer expression in the event of which he had prior spoken, we have to point to a struggle, a real war in that world, which is the spirit world, which began then and came to a certain conclusion for the world of the spirit by the autumn of 1879. To have the right ideal about these things, you must visualize a battle that continued for decades in the spiritual worlds from the 1840s until the autumn of 1879. And this is going on the other side. Everything we see here is a reflection from the other side, whether it's good or bad. This may be called a battle that the spirits who are followers of the spirit belonging to the hierarchy of archangels, whom we may call Michaèl, fought with certain Ahrimanic powers. Please consider this battle to have been in the first place a battle in the spiritual world. It's in heaven. Everything I am referring to at the moment relates to this battle fought by Michaèl and his followers against certain Ahrimanic powers. A good way of strengthening this ideal, especially if you want to make it fruitful for your life in the present time, is to have it in your mind's eye that the human souls who were born exactly in the 5th decade of the 19th century, actually took part in this battle between Michaèl's followers and the Ahrimanic powers when they were in the spiritual world. If you think on this, it will give you a great deal of understanding of the outer and inner destiny experienced by these individuals, and above all of their inner constitution. The battle thus took place in the 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s and came to a conclusion in the autumn of 1879. When Michaèl and his followers won a victory over certain Ahrimanic powers. What does this signify? To see something like this in the right way, we can always call on an image which humanity has known throughout its evolution. The fight between Michaèl and the dragon. This image has come up again and again in the course of evolution. We may characterize it by saying that every battle between Michaèl and the dragon is similar to the one in the 1840s, but it is about different things, harmful and damaging things. We may say that a particular crowd of Ahrimanic spirits seek over and over to bring something into world evolution, but they are always overcome. And so they also lost the battle in the autumn of 1879, and as I said, this was in heaven. But what does it signify that the powers of the dragon, this crowd of Ahrimanic being, of spirits, hang on, I've got to what does this do? But what does this signify that the powers of the dragon, this crowd of Ahrimanic spirits, are driven down into the human realms banished from heaven to earth, as it were. Losing the battle means that they are no longer to be found in the heavens, to use the biblical term. Instead, they are to be found in the human realms, which means that the late 1870s were a particular time when human souls became subject to Ahrimanic powers with regard to certain powers of cognition. Before this, these powers were active in the spiritual realms, which is heaven, therefore left human beings more in peace. When they were driven out of the heavens, they came upon human beings. And if we inquire into the nature of the Ahrimanic powers which entered into human beings when they had to leave the realms of heaven, the answer is the Ahrimanic materialistic view with its personal, mark this well, its personal bias. Materialism had, of course, reached its peak in the 1840s. But in those days, its impulses, Jesus Christ talks about impulses all the time, were more instinctive in humans. For the crowd of Ahrimanic spirits still sent their impulses from the heavens into human instincts. TV, all that stuff. From the autumn of 1879 onwards, these Ahrimanic impulses, powers of cognition and of will, became the personal property of human beings. Before this, they were more of a general property. Now they were transplanted to become personal property. We're thus able to say that due to the presence of these Ahrimanic powers from 1879 onwards, personal ambitions and inclinations to interpret the world in materialistic terms came to exist in the human realm. You only have to trace some of the events which have arisen because of personal inclinations since then to understand that they resulted when the archangel Michaèl drove the dragon, that is the crowd of Ahrimanic spirits, from the realms of heaven down to earth. The occurrence had a tremendous and profound significance. The people of the 19th century and of our own time are not inclined to pay attention to such occurrences in the spirit world and to the way in which they relate to the physical world. Yet the ultimate reasons and final impulses for events on earth can only be found if one knows the spiritual background. It has to be said that it takes a fair amount of materialism, even if dressed up as idealism, to say, quote, in terms of eternity, what does it matter if so and so many more tons of organic matter will perish as the war is allowed to continue, unquote. Because this was during the war, and there was over in Germany, and they'll show you how one reason was to destroy the ground, so no good farming could ever happen. And these motherfuckers were mad at them, but there's nothing they can do. One has to feel the extent to which such a view has its roots in Ahrimanism, for its roots truly are in the realms of inner response. The philosopher Heinrich Lichtenberger's philosophy of tons of organic matter is one of many examples that may be quoted to show the specific forms taken by the Ahrimanic way of thinking. The deepest impulse that has been living in human souls since 1879 is therefore one which was cast down into the human realms, casting, movies. Before that, it lived as Ahrimanic power in the world of the spirit. It is helpful to look for other ways of strengthening the ideal in our minds by using concepts from the material world, using these essentially as symbolic images. What happens today more at the level of soul and matter is also spiritual. It is merely a different form of spirituality. If you were to go back to very times in evolution, you would find a battle similar to the one I have just described. As already mentioned, these battles have recurred over and over again, but always on different issues. On the other side, in the distant past, the crowd of Ahrimanic spirits were also cast down from the spiritual worlds into the earthly realm when they had lost such a battle. You see, they would return to attack again and again. After one of these battles, for example, the crowd of Ahrimanic spirits populated the earth with the earthly life forms that the medical profession now calls bacilli, whatever y'all. Yeah, that's Ahrimanic. Everything that has the power to act as that, everything in which that is, are involved is the result of crowds of Ahrimanic spirits being cast from heaven to earth at a time when the dragon had been overcome. In the same way, the Ahrimanic Mesophys, this is like a satanic way of thinking was spread since the 1870s as a result of such a victory. Thus, we are able to say that the tubercular and that diseases come from a similar source as the materialism which has taken hold of the human minds. We can also compare the occurrences of the last century with something else. We can point to something that you may know already from esoteric science, hidden science. The withdrawal, we're not getting into that. These things really do belong together in a way, and it is extremely useful to consider this, for it has profound significance. Some individuals develop an irresistible hankering for intellectual materialism which arises from being in league with falling Ahriman. They gradually come to love the impulses that Ahriman raises in their souls, and indeed consider them to be a particularly noble and sublime way of thinking. Look, there's numbers. Look, we got eyes. Come in. No, I'm Ahriman. Once again, it is necessary to be fully and clearly aware of these things. Unless they are in our conscious awareness and we have a clear insight, we cannot make head nor tail of events. The danger inherent in all this must be regarded with a cool eye, as it were, in a calm heart. We have to face them calmly. We shall only do so, however, if we are quite clear about the fact that a certain danger threatens human beings from this direction. This is the danger of preserving what should not be preserved. Everything which happens within the great scheme of things does also have its good side. It is because the Ahrimanic powers entered into us when Michaèl won his victory that we are gaining in human freedom. Everything is connected with this, for the crowd of Ahrimanic spirits has entered into all of us. We gain in human freedom, but we must be aware of this. We should not allow the Ahrimanic powers to gain the upper hand, as it were, and we should not fall in love with them. This is tremendously important. There always is the danger of people continuing in materialism, in the materialistic Ahrimanic way of thinking, and carrying this on into ages when, according to the plan of things, it should have been overcome. It's here. The people do not turn away from the Ahrimanic materialistic way of thinking and want to keep it. Would then be in league with everything that has come about through similar victories won over the dragon. They therefore would not unite with spiritual progress and human evolution, but rather with material progress. And a time would come in the sixth post-Atlantean age. See, you got to get into the shit. Like this post-epochs of Atlantean falling and stuff, Atlantis, nobody knows anything. And the whole thing is ever since then we've gotten worse. So anyways, it's saying since the sixth post-Atlantean age, when the only thing to please them would be to live in something which will have been brought about by this. Listen, those microscopically small enemies of humanity, which would be Ahriman. You see what Ahriman gets in your head through images and repetitiveness? That's Satan. These old women, they ain't got God. That's Ahriman. Everybody's Ahriman. Every one of them. They ain't even looking up. This is from 1970. This is over 100 years ago. The man's saying they're creating Ahriman. It's here. It's technology, AI, all of it. Aleister Crowley said TV will do more for us than anything. Says something else also needs to be understood exactly because its logical consistency and indeed its greatness. The scientific way of thinking too is in great danger of sliding into the Ahrimanic way of thinking. It's already there because it is Ahriman. Consider how some scientists are thinking only today in the field of geology, for instance. They study the surface formation of the earth and the residues and so on to determine how certain animals live or have lived in the different strata. Empirical data are established for certain periods. Scientists use these as a basis for their views as to what the earth looked like thousands and millions of years ago, arriving, for instance, at the nebular hypothesis of Kant and Laplace. They also develop ideas as to the future evolution of the earth, and from the physical point of view, these are quite correct. They are often utterly brilliant, but they are based on a method where the evolution of the earth is observed for a time, and then conclusions are drawn. All right, we'll stop there, because this is what I want to show you before I go. We're talking about Michaèl and the dragon, right? Huh? Okay, in the Super Bowl, we all know about We all know about predictive programming. You know what I'm saying? So during the Super Bowl, the Baja Blast, right before Hawaii, it's on the can. So what we're going to do is we're going to go right over here right fast since the Dragon lost. Michaèl kicked the shit out of the Dragon. And I know you are watching this that know what I'm talking about, and you're like, God, I wish we could get him, and it's like you can. But the powers that be won't let you. Here it is. All right.
It's me, America's sweetheart. I just left back in class.
This is the commercial.
It's party, having a blast. Stuck in an elevator. Having a blast. Winning. Losing. Having a... Told me already. Blast. I can have a blast anytime, anywhere.
What are they on right there? Dragons. Right there. So what are these Ahrimanic beings telling us through their fucking bullshit current? Their impulse of bullshit. There's the dragon at the end of Baja Blast. Blast. Let me tell you something right now. Those of y'all that are on board, you better get prepared. You better be prepared for some shit to pop off. And see, in order for stuff to pop off, then they can cut resources. You understand? And that's what Ahriman loves doing. Ahriman loves fattening people up, giving them so many chemicals, and then cutting it off. Hang on. Now, let's see. I'm just proving that everybody's Ahriman. They don't know it. They don't know it. Look. Watch. Disney movies with a dragon. There you go. Dragon Slayer, Raya, which is Ra. Peach Dragon, the Reluctant Dragon, Dragon Around, Mulan. Dungeons and Dragons. Let's see. Video games with dragons. There you go. Let's keep going, buddy. Let's keep going. Movies with dragons. Oh, yeah. Hey. Cartoons with dragons. Yeah. Look, I really don't have time to keep pouring fuel on the fire to the Ahrimanic hater spirits. Okay? Listen, let me say this. Maybe there might be somebody else that can see what I'm actually putting out, like the in-depth of it. If you're getting a piece of it, you're on your way there. Okay? Because what that individual didn't live through, I've lived through, this mortal man. So what he brought to the surface from up there from God is what's coming now through me from up there. Through that, only vamped up a little more. With less intellect, I guess it would be towards the world. You know what I'm talking about? Like, because people, they listen for words, that have these fake careers. Like, if you don't use strong words, like they use, because, the medical, lawyer, all these different things at the top, they like using big, long words. And then they're like, God, they know that word. They're fucking smart. No, they're not. They're Ahriman. They're stupid. They're stupid as shit. But this is the whole thing, though. You're never taught about this. Okay? Once again, Lucifer came here. 2,000 years later, you get Jesus. And then 2,000 years later, we're going to have Ahriman. And that's where we are. Look, the battle's on, buddy. Look, everybody you see that won't listen, they can't listen, they're that Ahrimanic being cast down generationally, just repeated. Of fucking ignorance, just stupidity. It doesn't matter what the fuck that's what Ahriman does. Look at what I've done. It's like that's not you're a spirit from the other side. That's why people don't want to die. They don't want to go back. Ahriman doesn't want to go back. Ahriman's having fucking fun. Let's go destroy this anatomy some more. But then once Ahriman does his job, it just goes to the next one. Because see, there's a time before these books, this man will tell you, and some others. On the other side, there's beings that God had created, birth and death, that help us come in and go. Not anymore. God, listen, we are at the end. God has made his decision, either you on board or not. Either you're going to go at Matt and go, Matt, everything in here is real, or you're going to say, I need to cut this as much as fucking possible. Because this world is not real. This is Ahrimanic. This came from hell, truthfully. Because that's what, God, all them little spirits floating around going, oh yeah, we're going to get him. Oh shit, we got cast out. Fuck, what happened? That's why he cleaned house. He's getting ready. And there may be 10 fucking people on earth. Seriously. 10 people on earth that's really fucking going at this like this. And then the few of y'all that's hanging on, that Ahrimanic spirit's in there fucking telling you, don't do it, don't listen. And you're coming out of it. And you're coming out of it. You're from right up there. What's inside of you has been suppressed from day one through Ahrimanic technology. And now it's time to break the motherfucking chains. God love you. Hell yeah.